My brother died 42 years ago. Last week, he called me at 2 in the morning and said, "It is me. It is Benjamin." You will not believe what happened next. Before we continue, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. This is a true story about the most impossible miracle I have ever witnessed. A story about loss and hope and the unbreakable bond between brothers. You need to hear every single word, because sometimes the dead do come back, and when they do, they change everything. My name is Michael Cooper. I am 65 years old. I live in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. I am a retired high school teacher. I have a wife named Sarah, 3 grown children, and 2 grandchildren. I have a normal life, a good life, a life I built on the foundation of loss. Because 42 years ago, I buried my little brother. His name was Benjamin. Benji, we called him. He was 19 years old, 4 years younger than me. He had sandy blonde hair and green eyes and a smile that could light up a room. He was funny and smart and kind. He was going to college to study forestry. He wanted to work in the national parks. He loved the outdoors, loved hiking and camping and everything about nature. On January 17th, 1983, he got on a Greyhound bus in Vancouver. He was coming home to Kelowna for Mom's birthday. The drive usually took about 4 hours. It should have been simple, safe, routine. But there was a snowstorm, the worst one we had seen in years. The bus was traveling on the Coquihalla Highway, a mountain pass known for being dangerous in winter. At 8:30 that night, the bus went off the road, went over the edge, tumbled down the mountainside. 17 passengers died that night. Benjamin Cooper was one of them, or so I thought. I got the call at midnight. It was the police. They said there had been an accident. They said Benji was on the bus. They said I needed to come identify the body. I was 23 years old. I had just started my teaching career. I was supposed to be building my life, not identifying my brother's corpse in a morgue. But I went. Drove through the storm to Hope, British Columbia. The morgue was in the basement of the hospital. Cold, sterile, smelling like chemicals and death. A man in a white coat led me to a room with a metal table. There was a body on the table, covered with a sheet. They pulled back the sheet. The face was damaged, swollen, bruised, covered with cuts and dried blood, but the hair was the right color, sandy blonde. The build was right, thin, tall, about 6 feet. The age looked right, late teens or early 20s. And there was a scar on the left forearm, a long white line. Benji had that scar, got it when he was 7, fell off his bike and needed 12 stitches. "Is this your brother?" the man asked. I looked at the face, tried to see past the damage, tried to see Benji. I thought I saw him. I thought I recognized the shape of his nose, the curve of his jaw, something about the way his hair fell across his forehead. "Yes," I said, "that is Benjamin Cooper. That is my brother." They gave me paperwork to sign, asked questions about organ donation and funeral arrangements. I answered on autopilot. My mind was somewhere else, somewhere dark and numb. I had to call my mother, had to tell her that her youngest son was dead. That was the worst phone call I have ever made, worse than anything that came after, because I heard her heart break over the phone, heard the sound no parent should ever make. The sound of a mother learning her child is gone. We held the funeral 5 days later. It was a gray day, cold, the kind of day that matches grief. We buried the body in the cemetery in Kelowna, put up a headstone that said, "Benjamin Cooper, beloved son and brother, 1964 to 1983, gone too soon." Mom never recovered. She smiled sometimes, laughed sometimes, went through the motions of living, but a part of her died that day. The part that believed the world was safe. The part that believed her children would outlive her. She died 8 years later. Heart attack, the doctors said. But I think it was a broken heart. I lived with the loss for 42 years, thought about Benji every day, wondered who he would have become, what he would have done with his life. Would he have gotten married, had kids, become a park ranger like he dreamed? I would never know. Until last Tuesday. My phone rang at 2 in the morning. I was asleep, deep asleep. The kind of sleep you only get when you are 65 and retired and have nothing to wake up early for. But the phone cut through the darkness. Loud, insistent. I fumbled for it, squinted at the screen. The caller ID showed a number I did not recognize. Area code 604, Vancouver. I almost did not answer. At 65, you learn that nothing good comes from calls at that hour. Usually it is scammers. Sometimes it is wrong numbers. Occasionally it is news about someone dying. But something made me answer. Some instinct I could not name. The same instinct that used to wake me when Benji had nightmares as a kid. When he would cry out in his sleep and I would go to his room and sit with him until he fell back asleep. I swiped to answer. "Hello?" I said, my voice rough with sleep. There was breathing on the other end. Heavy, labored, like someone who had run a long distance. Or someone who was scared. "Hello?" I said again. "Michael?" The voice was uncertain. Hesitant. "Is this Michael Cooper?" I sat up in bed, my heart suddenly pounding. Something about that voice, something underneath the roughness, something that made my blood run cold. Yes, I said. Who is this? More breathing. Then, it is me. It is Benjamin. The world stopped. Time froze. My brain tried to process what I just heard. Failed. Tried again. Failed again. Benjamin. My brother's name. Spoken by a stranger in the middle of the night. I dropped the phone. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely pick it up again. Sarah stirred beside me, asked what was wrong. I could not answer, could not speak, could only stare at the phone like it was a weapon. I picked it up, put it back to my ear. The line was still open. I could hear him breathing. This is not funny, I said. My voice came out cracked, broken. Whoever you are, this is sick. My brother died 42 years ago. I buried him. I stood at his grave. Do not call this number again. I was about to hang up when the voice said, I know how long it has been. I just figured out who I am. Wait, what? I found something. A newspaper clipping about a bus crash on the Coquihalla Highway, January 1983. 17 people died. And there is a picture, a school photo of a boy with my eyes, and the name under it says Benjamin Cooper. That is me, is not it? I am Benjamin Cooper. I could not breathe. The room was spinning. Sarah turned on the lamp, looked at me with concern. I waved her off, pressed the phone harder against my ear. Where are you? I managed to say. Who are you? I do not really know. A place called the Downtown East Side, Vancouver. Someone told me that is what it is called. I have been here a long time. I think I live in a shelter on East Hastings Street, but I do not remember. I do not remember how I got here. I do not remember anything before, about 15 years ago. What do you mean you do not remember? I woke up in a hospital. They said I had been found on the street. No ID, no name. I could not tell them who I was. I could not remember. They kept me for a while. Then they sent me to a shelter. I have been there ever since, moving between shelters, sometimes on the streets, just trying to survive. And then last week I found this newspaper, and I saw that picture, and I thought, that is me. I know that face. Those are my eyes. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. What do you remember? I asked, testing him, because this had to be a scam, some sick person who found Benji's name and decided to torture me with it. Nothing clear, just feelings, dreams. Sometimes I dream about snow, about being cold, about people screaming. And sometimes I dream about a house with a blue door, and someone making pancakes with blueberries, every Sunday morning. I felt tears start then, hot, sudden, unstoppable, because I remembered that house, that blue door. We grew up in that house, our childhood home in Kelowna. The door was blue, sky blue. Mom painted it herself, and she made blueberry pancakes every Sunday without fail. It was tradition, family breakfast, and Benji always ate more than anyone else. 3, 4, sometimes 5 pancakes. Mom used to laugh and say he had a hollow leg. What do you look like? I whispered. Old, he said. There was sadness in his voice. Defeat, really old. My face is weathered, lined. I have lived rough for a long time, decades I think. My hair is gray. My hands are rough. But I found that picture in the newspaper, and even though it is 42 years old, I can see it. I can see myself in that face. We have the same eyes. Everyone always said I had distinctive eyes. Benji did have distinctive eyes, green, bright green, like forest leaves in summer. Everyone commented on them. Do you have any scars? I asked. Any marks? There was a pause. Then, yes, on my left forearm, a long scar. Old, really old. I never knew where it came from, never remembered getting it, but it is there. My vision blurred with tears. Benji fell off his bike when he was 7, cut his arm badly, needed 12 stitches. The scar never went away. I saw that scar on the body in the morgue 42 years ago. That is how I knew it was him, except it was not. Give me your address, I said. My voice was shaking. Tell me exactly where you are. I am coming to get you. You do not have to do that, he said quickly. I do not think you should. I do not think I am the person you remember. I do not remember being him. I am just someone who has been on the streets for longer than I can recall. I probably smell bad. I probably look frightening. I just wanted to call because I thought someone should know. Someone should know that maybe I did not die in that crash. That maybe there was a mistake. That maybe I am Benjamin Cooper and I am still alive. Tell me where you are, I said firmly. Right now. Please. He gave me the address. A shelter on East Hastings Street. I wrote it down with shaking hands. My handwriting was barely legible. I will be there as soon as I can, I said. Do not go anywhere, please. Just wait for me. Okay, he said quietly. Okay, I will wait. I hung up, sat there in bed, staring at nothing. Sarah was fully awake now, looking at me with wide eyes. What is going on? She asked. Who was that? I said slowly, trying to process it myself. I think that was Benji. I think my brother is alive. I left 30 minutes later. Did not pack, did not shower, did not eat. just threw on clothes, got in my car, started driving. It was 2:30 in the morning. The roads were empty, dark. I drove like a man possessed. Drove through the night, through the mountains, through the darkness. My mind raced the entire time. What if it really was him? What if Benji had been alive this whole time? What if I had identified the wrong body 42 years ago? The thought made me physically ill. I had to pull over twice, once to throw up. Once because I was crying so hard I could not see the road. What had I done? How could I have been so careless? So certain? I was 23. I was traumatized. I was not thinking clearly. But that was not an excuse. I should have looked more carefully. Should have asked for dental records or fingerprints or something. Should have made absolutely sure. But I did not. I looked at a damaged face and a scar and said, yes, that is my brother. And I was wrong. And because I was wrong, Benji had been alone for 42 years. Lost, forgotten, living on the streets. And no one came looking for him because everyone thought he was dead. I arrived in Vancouver at 9:30 in the morning. The sun was up, but the sky was gray, overcast. It matched my mood. I found East Hastings Street, found the address he gave me. And I understood why his voice sounded so defeated. East Hastings is the most infamous street in Vancouver, maybe in all of Canada. It is where the homeless live, where the addicted survive, where people go when they have nowhere else to go. Tents line the sidewalks. People shuffle past like ghosts. The smell of garbage and desperation hangs in the air. The shelter was a gray building, old, run down, bars on the windows, graffiti on the walls. I parked and sat in my car for a moment, trying to prepare myself, trying to figure out what I was going to say, trying to breathe. Then I got out, walked to the door, went inside. The interior smelled like disinfectant mixed with unwashed bodies. There was a desk near the entrance. A woman sat behind it. She looked tired, worn down by years of seeing suffering. Her name tag said Maria. I'm looking for someone, I said. He called me last night. He said he stays here sometimes. His name is... I paused. His name might be Benjamin Cooper. She looked at me carefully. Are you family? I think so. I think he might be my brother. He went missing 42 years ago. Her expression softened. Sympathy replaced suspicion. John, she said. We know him as John. We call him that because he never told us his real name. He does not remember it. Or he did not until now, I guess. He comes and goes. Sometimes he sleeps here, sometimes on the street. He is not well. He has trouble with memory, trouble trusting people, but he is gentle. Never causes problems, never gets into fights, just keeps to himself mostly. Is he here now? I asked. She picked up a phone, made a call, spoke quietly. I could not hear what she said. Then she hung up and looked at me. He is upstairs, 3rd floor, room 312. But sir, please go slowly. Do not overwhelm him. He is fragile, more fragile than he looks. I will, I promised. I took the elevator up. My legs felt weak, shaky, like they might give out at any moment. The hallway on the 3rd floor smelled like old carpet and sadness. The walls were painted a pale yellow that had faded to the color of illness. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Room 312 was at the end of the hall. The door was open. I stood in the doorway, looked inside. A man sat on a narrow bed. He was thin, too thin. His clothes hung off his frame like they were 2 sizes too big. His hair was gray, long, pulled back in a ponytail. His face was lined and weathered, tanned from years spent outside. His hands were rough, calloused, the hands of someone who had worked hard for a long time. He looked up when he heard me, and I saw his eyes. Green eyes, bright green, forest green, the same eyes I had looked into for 19 years, the same eyes I had dreamed about for 42 years after that, the eyes I thought I would never see again. Benji, I whispered. He stood up slowly, uncertain. Michael? I crossed the room in 3 steps, pulled him into my arms. He was stiff at first, like he had forgotten how to be touched, like he did not know what a hug was. Then, something broke inside him. He wrapped his arms around me and started sobbing, deep, wrenching sobs that shook his whole body. I thought I made you up, he said into my shoulder. I thought you were just another dream, another thing my brain invented to make me feel less alone. You are real, I said. I am real. This is real. We stood there for a long time, holding each other, crying like children. Other residents walked by in the hallway. Some looked in with curiosity. Some kept walking. No one said anything. In a place like this, people respected grief, respected reunion, respected whatever this was. When we finally pulled apart, I looked at him more closely. Really looked at him. He was my brother, but he was also a stranger. 42 years had carved lines into his face that should not have been there. Life had been cruel to him, had taken pieces of him I would never get back. The boy I remembered was gone. This man in front of me was someone else. Can we go somewhere? I asked. Somewhere we can talk? Somewhere with food? He nodded, grabbed a worn backpack from under the bed. It looked like it contained everything he owned. We went to a diner 3 blocks away, the kind of place where the coffee is weak and the food is cheap and no one cares who you are or what you look like. I ordered eggs and toast and coffee for both of us. Added pancakes, blueberry pancakes. Benji looked at them when they arrived, touched them with his fork like he was not sure they were real. Then he took a bite, closed his eyes, and something passed over his face. Recognition, memory, pain. I remember, he whispered. I remember these. I remember someone making these. Humming while she cooked, flipping them just right. I remember. That was Mom, I said. She made them every Sunday. You always ate more than anyone else. He opened his eyes. They were wet with tears. Mom. I had a mom. Yes, you had a mom. Her name was Susan. She loved you very much. She never stopped loving you. Even after we buried you. Even after she died, she loved you. He put down his fork, covered his face with his hands. His shoulders shook. I reached across the table, put my hand on his arm, let him cry. There was nothing else to do, nothing else to say. Just let him feel what he needed to feel. When he finally looked up, his face was red and blotchy. Tell me everything, he said. Tell me who I was, who I am supposed to be. So I did. I told him about our childhood, about growing up in Kelowna, about our parents, about the house with the blue door, about the dog we had named Rex, about the bike rides and camping trips and all the normal things that made up a childhood. I told him about his dreams, about wanting to be a park ranger, about his love of nature, about the way he could name every tree and bird and plant, about his plan to study forestry in college. I told him about the bus crash, about the morgue, about the funeral, about Mom and how she never recovered, about the 42 years I spent thinking he was dead. He listened to all of it, absorbing it, processing it, trying to fit these stories into the blank spaces in his mind. Then it was his turn. Tell me what you remember, I said. Start from the beginning. He took a deep breath. The first thing I remember is waking up in a truck. It was dark. I was in the back with other people, maybe 5 or 6 others. We were all hurt, bleeding, confused. None of us knew where we were or how we got there. There was a man driving. 2 men, actually. They did not speak to us, just drove. Where did they take you? I asked, though I already suspected the answer. A camp, deep in the mountains. I do not know where exactly. British Columbia, I think. Maybe Alberta. It was remote, no roads in, no way out except on foot through miles of wilderness. There were buildings, old logging buildings, run down. And there were other people there, men mostly. They put us to work. Doing what? Logging, cutting trees, loading trucks, backbreaking work from dawn until dark. If you worked, you got food. If you did not work, you did not eat. If you tried to escape, they would beat you. Or worse. My God, I breathed. You were trafficked. You were a slave. He nodded slowly. I did not know what was happening at first. I had a head injury from the crash, could not remember my name, could not remember anything. I just knew I was in pain and I was scared, and if I did not do what they said, they would hurt me. So I did what they said. For years. I do not know how many. Time stopped meaning anything. Days just blended together. Wake up, work, sleep. Wake up, work, sleep. How did you get out? There was a fire. One of the buildings caught fire one night. I do not know how it started. Maybe an accident. Maybe someone did it on purpose. But in the chaos, some of us ran. Just ran into the woods. I ran. I did not know where I was going. Just away. Away from that place. I ran until I could not run anymore. Collapsed on a logging road. Someone found me. Took me to a hospital. And they could not identify you. No. I had no ID. Could not tell them my name. Could not tell them where I came from. The head injury had done something to my brain, erased my past, or locked it away where I could not reach it. They kept me in the hospital for a few weeks, tried to figure out who I was, put out alerts, checked missing persons reports. Nothing matched. So they sent me to a shelter, and I have been there ever since, on and off. Sometimes in shelters, sometimes on the streets, just trying to survive. That was 15 years ago? About that. Time is strange when you live like that. Days blur together. Seasons change, but nothing really changes. You just keep going because you do not know what else to do. I was crying now. Could not stop crying. For the boy who got on that bus. For the man who survived hell. For the 42 years we lost. For all of it. I am sorry, I said. I am so sorry, Benji. I thought you were dead. I identified a body. I buried someone. I told Mom you were gone. All this time, you were alive, and I did not know. I did not look hard enough. I should have looked harder. He reached across the table, put his hand over mine. It is not your fault. You were 23. You had just lost your brother. You did the best you could. How could you have known? I should have known. I should have made sure. Michael, listen to me. If you had checked more carefully, if you had waited, they might never have found me. I might have died in those mountains, working for those men. But I did not. I survived. And somehow, after all this time, I figured out who I am. And I found you, or you found me, and here we are. He was right, but it did not make the guilt any easier to bear. We sat in that diner for 3 hours, talking, crying, trying to bridge the gap of 42 years. Other customers came and went. The waitress refilled our coffee without comment. She had seen everything in a place like this. Nothing surprised her anymore. Finally, I said, "Come home with me. Come back to Kelowna. You can stay with me and Sarah. We have room. You do not have to live on the streets anymore. You do not have to be alone." He looked uncertain. "I do not know. I do not think I would fit in. I do not remember how to be part of a family. I do not remember how to be normal." "You do not have to be normal. You just have to be you, and we will figure out the rest." He thought about it for a long time. Then he nodded. Okay, I will try." We drove back to Kelowna that day. Benji sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window, taking in the mountains and trees and sky like he was seeing them for the first time. Maybe he was. Sarah was waiting when we got home. I had called her from Vancouver, told her what was happening. She had prepared the guest room, made it clean and comfortable and welcoming. When Benji walked in, she hugged him, just walked right up and hugged him. He stood there stiffly, then slowly, hesitantly, he hugged her back. "Welcome home," she said. "We are glad you are here." That first night was hard. Benji could not sleep in the guest bedroom, said the bed was too soft. The walls felt like they were closing in. He ended up on the floor in the corner with all the lights on. Even then, he woke up screaming twice. Once because he thought he was back in the camp. Once because he did not remember where he was and thought someone was coming to hurt him. I sat with him both times, did not try to touch him, just let him know I was there, that he was safe, that no one was going to hurt him. Eventually he calmed down, fell back into fitful sleep. I stayed awake, watched over him, like I used to when we were kids and he had nightmares. The next morning I took him to see a doctor, a specialist in trauma and memory. Her name was Dr. Elena Santos. She had been recommended by a friend who worked in victim services. I explained the situation. She listened without judgment. Then she asked to speak with Benji alone. They were in her office for 3 hours. When they came out, Benji looked exhausted. Dr. Santos looked serious. "Can I speak with you privately?" she asked me. We went to another room. She closed the door. "Your brother has severe dissociative amnesia," she said. "It is likely caused by the head trauma from the crash, compounded by years of psychological trauma from the trafficking. His brain essentially shut down access to his past as a survival mechanism. The memories are still there, but they are locked away. Some may come back with time and therapy, some may never come back." "Can you help him?" I asked. "I can try. But Michael, you need to understand something. The Benjamin you remember does not exist anymore. That 19-year-old boy died in a lot of ways. The man you brought home is someone who has survived unimaginable trauma. He is not going to just slot back into the life he lost. You need to meet him where he is now, not where you wish he was." "I understand." "Do you? Because this is going to be hard. He is going to have bad days. Days when he cannot get out of bed. Days when he does not trust you. Days when he wants to go back to the streets because that is what he knows. Are you prepared for that?" "Yes," I said. "He is my brother. I am not giving up on him." "Good. Because he needs you. He needs stability. He needs patience. He needs time." We started therapy. Benji went twice a week, sometimes 3 times. Dr. Santos said he was making progress, slowly, 1 session at a time, working through layers of trauma that went back decades. And memories started coming back. Small things at first. The taste of blueberry pancakes, the name of our childhood dog, the color of Mom's eyes, the way the house smelled in summer. Little fragments, little pieces of who he used to be. Then bigger memories, a camping trip when he was 10, the time I taught him to ride a bike, Christmas mornings, birthday parties, school days. Slowly, piece by piece, Benjamin Cooper started to emerge from the fog, but it was not linear. Some days he remembered a lot. Other days he remembered nothing. Some days he was present and engaged. Other days he was somewhere else, lost in his own mind. My kids met him, my 2 daughters and my son, Rachel, Emma, and David. They were cautious at first, unsure how to talk to an uncle they thought was dead. An uncle who did not remember them because they were not born yet when he disappeared. But slowly, they warmed to him. Rachel brought him books about plants. Emma taught him to use a smartphone. David took him fishing. And Benji, slowly, started to relax, started to smile, started to laugh. My grandson, who is 5 years old, decided that Benji was his best friend, would follow him around, ask him questions, show him toys. And Benji, who had not been around children in 42 years, was surprisingly gentle with him, patient, kind. "Maybe," Sarah said one night, "maybe being around kids is helping him remember what it is like to be innocent, to trust, to play." "Maybe," I agreed. We talked about the grave, about the headstone in the cemetery with Benji's name on it, about what to do. Should we remove it, change it, leave it? We have not decided yet. Benji said he wants to visit it first, wants to see his own grave, wants to stand where people mourned for him. I told him we would go when he was ready. There is no rush. Last month, Benji got a job, part-time at a garden center. The owner is a kind man who does not ask too many questions. Benji works in the greenhouse, repotting plants, watering, caring for things that grow. He says it is peaceful, says plants do not judge. Do not ask questions. Do not expect him to be someone he is not. He comes home with dirt under his fingernails, with stories about customers, with a sense of purpose he has not had in decades, and every week he gives me half his paycheck, says he wants to contribute, wants to help pay for groceries and bills. I tell him he does not have to. He insists. This is what families do, he says. They take care of each other. Yes, I say, that is what families do. The police investigation is ongoing. They are looking into the trafficking operation, trying to find the men who did this, trying to locate the camp. But after 42 years, most of the evidence is gone. The camp has been abandoned for decades. The men who ran it are likely dead or disappeared. There may never be justice, never be accountability. But there is something. Benji is alive. After everything, he survived. And maybe that is justice enough. We also contacted authorities about the body in Benji's grave. Told them it is not Benjamin Cooper. Told them it is someone else. Someone whose family never found them. They are working to identify the real person. Running DNA tests. Checking missing persons reports from 1983. But after 42 years, it is difficult. Maybe impossible. I think about that family sometimes. About someone out there who lost a son or brother or father, who never got answers, who never got closure. Because I made a mistake 42 years ago. Because I was young and traumatized and did not look carefully enough. We put a notice in the paper. Reached out to missing persons organizations. Tried to find out who the real person in the grave is. So far, nothing. But we are still looking. Because whoever he is, he deserves to have his real name on his headstone, deserves to be remembered as himself, not as someone else. Benji is still on his journey, still finding himself, still healing. Some days are good. He is present, engaged, happy. Other days are hard. He wakes up screaming, has flashbacks, gets lost in his own mind. On those days, I just sit with him. Do not try to fix it. Do not try to make it better. Just let him know I am there, that I am not going anywhere, that this is real and permanent, and he is safe. Last week, Benji remembered something new, a Christmas when he was 8. He remembered asking for a red bike with white stripes, remembered being so excited he could barely sleep, remembered waking up on Christmas morning and seeing that bike under the tree, remembered riding it around the driveway while I watched, remembered feeling like the luckiest kid in the world. I had saved up for months to buy that bike, worked a part-time job after school. Every penny went toward that bike, because I wanted to see him happy, wanted to give him something he would remember forever. And now, 42 years later, he does remember. Not everything, but enough. I am starting to feel like him, he said yesterday. Like Benjamin. Like I am not just some homeless guy who happens to have his DNA. Like I am actually becoming him again. Or maybe becoming someone new who includes parts of him. Does that make sense? Yes, I said. It makes perfect sense. Sometimes late at night, I lie awake and think about everything. About the 42 years we lost. About the life Benji should have had. About Mom and how happy she would have been to know he is alive. That is the hardest part. Knowing she died without knowing she spent 8 years mourning a son who is not dead, knowing she never got to see him again. But I also think about miracles, about the impossible phone call at 2 in the morning, about driving through the darkness to find him, about bringing him home, about watching him heal, about the second chance we have been given. Some stories do not have happy endings. Some people who disappear are never found. Some mysteries are never solved. But sometimes, against all odds, the impossible happens. Sometimes the dead come back. And when they do, everything changes. Thank you for listening to our story. If someone you love goes missing, never stop looking, never stop hoping, because sometimes, just sometimes, they find their way back, and when they do, it is worth everything.